Onslow Cole, an excellent second place on the grid for Onslow Cole in the SPS Automotive Mercedes that he shares with Valentin Pierberg, as more extinguishant gets sent in the direction of the tail of the Lamborghini. Antonio Liuzzi watching from afar. And a real pity for Liuzzi. It's felt as if he and Hiroshi Hamaguchi be on the cusp of a very strong result, but unfortunately it doesn't look like it's going to happen this afternoon. And given that amount of foam, looking that we are possibly looking at a delay to the start of the race as well. Somewhat ironically, this is Liuzzi's former Toro Rosso Formula 1 car actually running one of the support races this afternoon, claiming victory a couple of hours ago. As clearly, whatever is going on in the tail of that Lamborghini hasn't quite been fully dealt with yet. As the fire tenders getting to work. Trying to pick out where that is. I think it's just coming through the final turn where it all went a little bit wrong. So the cars, meanwhile, outside of our commentary box are all poised in position. Yet to see word coming through as to whether or not the start has been delayed, but in the circumstances, it's unlikely that we might have a few moments pause whilst Liuzzi's car is recovered. Everybody else on the grid and in position. So third on the grid is Augusto Farfus at the wheel of the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW that he shares this weekend with Lourenco Beirao de Viega. Thiago Monteiro, who was supposed to be in that car, withdrawing due to injury. So Farfus stepping in at the 11th hour and immediately bang on the pace, qualifying in third. Fourth on the grid in the Balfe Motorsport McLaren is Rob Bell, and Bell, who was just pipped from second in qualifying in the latter stages, because the top four cars are all separated by just under 0.2 of a second. But Rob Bell and Sean Balfe are currently third in the championship standings, and of those at the sharp end of the championship, comfortably the highest up the grid. Dominic and Mario Farnbacher, who lead the points, 38 points, from Albert Costa and Philip Fromenvila on 33 points. Then Bell and Balfe on 29 points. It's just a couple of moments away from the start here in Paul Ricard, the 5th race of the season for the International GTOpen. With such a huge field, such strength in depth, we should be in for an excellent afternoon of racing. Other cars to watch for: the third row of the grid, Giovanni Venturini in the first of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghinis, alongside Duncan Tappy in the first, the Garage 59 McLarens, and then Geoffrey Donada and Albert Costa on row 4 from Liuzzi and Grenier on row 5. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Paul Ricard for the third event of the 2017 International GTOpen season. This, the 5th race of what has already been a thrilling and dramatic year to date, and this afternoon promises to be a potential highlight of the season as we head towards the midpoint of the year. It's hello from Ben Evans on a beautiful June afternoon. The sun has been beating down all day. There is not a cloud in the sky, and there is a very full field of cars lining up on the grid, but not, I'm afraid to say, the Triple F Racing Lamborghini of Vitantonio Liuzzi. On the way to the grid, the car has had a conflagration. The fire crews on point quickly, but Liuzzi not going to be able to start from that 9th place on the grid. So that leaves us with 27 cars that are assembled ready for the start, and they are going to be headed by the Spirit of Race Ferrari of Mikel Mack and Miguel Ramos. They scored their first podium of the year in race 1 at Spa, and it is Mack who will take the start, taking pole position by 86 thousandths of a second after an absolutely thrilling qualifying session this morning. And as you can see, the word coming through, the start is being delayed for a few moments. Second on the grid is the SPS Automotive Mercedes. Tom Onslow-Cole returning to share alongside Valentin Pierberg this weekend, and it was Onslow-Cole, former star of the British Touring Car Championship, who was able to get the car onto the front row. So there is the Dane, Mikel Mack, poised in the cockpit, waiting for word to get underway on the formation lap and then for the start of the 70-minute race. SPS Mercedes, and if you see that car off up close, believe me, it is even more spectacularly liveried in the flesh than it looks on TV. Tom Onslow-Cole tucked into the cockpit of the Merc. Onslow-Cole was on pole for much of the session, only demoted very late on. Third on the grid is Augusto Farfus in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW. Farfus, a late replacement for Thiago Monteiro this weekend, but the Brazilian driver, probably best known for his exploits in the World Touring Car Championship, bang on the place, and a strong third in the car that he will pass over to Ranko Beirão de Viega late on. Fourth on the grid for Rob Bell in the Balfe Motorsport McLaren, and Rob Bell and Sean Balfe coming into the weekend third in the championship standings and out qualifying comfortably for this race the two Lexus entries which are ahead of them in the points. Giovanni Venturini, the first of the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini Huracans, lines up in 5th, the car that he shares with reigning champion Thomas Biaggi. Venturini just wants to get this race underway, not least because it is going to be very hot there in the cockpit. 6th on the grid for Duncan Tappy and Mike Benham in the Garage 59 McLaren. That is Mike Benham, and inside the cockpit, Duncan Tappy, and Tappy a little bit trepidatious about what qualifying would bring earlier on, but he really delivered the goods. One of a couple of new entries this weekend, the AB Sport Auto car of Geoffrey Denarder, an excellent 7th place in qualifying earlier on, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Denarder mixes it at the front of the field. This the car that's second in the championship, Albert Costa and Philip Fromenvilla, the Emil Frey Racing Lexus. And Costa and Fromenvilla, twice winners this year. Both of those wins coming Estoril and Spa in the Saturday race. Albert Costa, a little bit more work to do this afternoon. Further down the grid, there is Eduardo Liberati in Raton Racing Lamborghini, 11th place on the grid for Liberati in the car that he shares with Kang Ling. But it's a car that has been steadily moving towards the front of the field. And then that is Michael Grenier, 10th on the grid in the Antonelli Motorsport Lamborghinis. The Antonelli team, who we saw a couple of times last season, entering 2 cars for Paul Ricard this weekend. Continue our walk down the grid. Francesco Cini in the Solaris Motorsport Aston Martin. And certainly Cini in the Solaris team would love a good result here at Paul Ricard after the unfortunate accident in winter testing that set back their preparations for the season somewhat. The Jordan Racing Bentley of Michael Meadows and Jordan Witt had a fantastic outing at Spa-Francorchamps. Michael Meadows will fancy his chances maybe of pulling off another surprise result and certainly potentially a Pro-Am podium this afternoon. Andrea Fontana came so close to a rostrum in race 2 in Spa, but that last lap contact with Albert Costa unfortunately taking away he and Vito Postiglione's chances. But Fontana Postiglione could again push for a rostrum. 14th on the grid for Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda in the second of the Theo Martin Motorsport BMWs. Bouveng and Rueda, who did get on the rostrum in Spa a fortnight ago, be looking to repeat that trick again this afternoon. Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva, they are the foremost of the AM class qualifiers in the Sport and New Mercedes. This track one that seems to suit the Mercedes. Antonio Coimbra taking to the start, gives a thumbs up from inside the cockpit. Very exciting to see the Conrad Motorsport Lamborghini on the grid this weekend. Henrik Still will be starting from 16th place. What was a very, very closely matched field in qualifying. To give you an indication, the top 24 cars covered by just 3 seconds. Marcello Hahn has got a new co-driver this weekend in the form of Alan Hellmeister, but the DriveX Mercedes has been immaculately prepared throughout the course of the season, has shown a great turn of pace. So what can Marcello do? Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Ciocci scored a second place finish in race 2 in Spa, when they were able to navigate the very difficult conditions, and Ciocci was an absolute star here in Paul Ricard last year. But they've got a lot to do from 18th on the grid, but the Ferraris have been the pace setters during free practice this weekend. Second of the Antonelli Lamborghinis, Gianluca Giraldi and Davide Roda, and it's Giraldi who starts from 23rd place. And then the Kaspersky, Ferrari Valets Moiseev and Davide Rizzo, double AM class winners in Spa-Francorchamps a fortnight ago. And Moiseev will be hoping for the same again, although I think he's going to have his work cut out in a very strong AM field. Very warm welcome back to the championship for the Lechner Racing Mercedes of Mario Plasciuta and Thomas Jaeger. It is Plasciuta will start, but watch that car in the second half of the race, because Thomas Jaeger can fly with it, and in the right conditions, so can Plasciuta. It was a very disappointing weekend at Spa for the MS Racing Mercedes, Alexandra Fraquina and Martin Conrad, after the car was damaged early on in race 1 and damaged such that it couldn't take the start of race 2. Fusong Yang and Andrea Caldarelli, 27th on the grid. And again, it's Caldarelli in the second half of the race who we've got to watch for. Fusong Yang, if they keep it on the island, could do enough to bring that car into contention for a good result. And then cars we've not seen, Marcio Basso at the wheel of the second Sport and New Mercedes, Alex West in Garage 59 McLaren, and Ivor Dunbar in the FF Course Ferrari, who lines up in 28th position. As you can see, the work over at the far side of the track is nearly completed. The drivers about to be shown the 5-minute board, and that means that we'll start to see the grid being cleared. Then they'll be waved off onto their green flag formation lap. Always frustrating for the teams and drivers. There you have the 5-minute board to have a delay before a race, but particularly as they're all strapped into the cockpits. It's a very hot afternoon. The in-car temperature is right up there. When we do get going, of course, it is going to be a 70-minute race. There is the mandatory pit stop that comes between the 28th and the 42nd minute. That's where we'll see the element of strategy coming into play, and then we will be hoping for the sort of dicing that we saw at the end of last year's race. Mikel Mack fully focused on the job ahead in the Spirit of Race Ferrari. He and Miguel Ramos, they were learning the car in Estoril. They got on the podium in Spa. Can they get a win this afternoon? Tom Onslow Cole, this is exactly the sort of performance that he would have been hoping for. He signed up at the start of the season, and what can he give to Valentin Pierberg in terms of an advantage to inherit for the second half of the race? It's Paul Ricard circuit, such a diverse and varied challenge for the drivers as well. You've got the very high-speed turns like the Courbe du Cygne. You've got the long Mistral straight, but also some more technical sections as well. Getting the balance and the setup right is a real challenge. It's something they've been grappling with all weekend. You take the downforce off for the straight, the long Mistral straight. Do you wind it back on so that you're not asking too much of the Michelin tyre through the more technical sections of the track. So in terms of the championship then, it is Dominic and Mario Farnbacher who lead the standings on 38 points. They are ahead of Albert Costa and Philip Fromavila on 33 points. Then Sean Balfe and Rob Bell, there is Rob, third in the standings on 29 points. Alexander West and Com Ledegar are fourth on 22 points, as are Giovanni Venturini and Thomas Biaggi also on 22 points. So the 3-minute board has been shown on the grid, and that means that everybody needs to make their way off it. And then, so let's have a look then at how they line up in full, and this may take some time. So Mikkel Mack and Tom Onslow Cole on the front row. Then Augusto Farfus and Rob Bell on row 2. Giovanni Venturini and Duncan Tappy, a very strong row 3. The fourth row of the grid, Geoffrey Donada, a little bit of an unknown quantity, and Albert Costa, double race winner already this year in the Lexus. Antonio Liuzzi not there on row 5, so Michael Grenier on his own in the Antonelli Motorsport Lamborghini. Row 6, Eduardo Liberati and Michael Meadows, so the Raton Racing Lamborghini, the Jordan Racing Bentley, head of Francesco Cini and Victor Bouveng. Watch for the Aston in the straight line, very impressive in qualifying. All Lamborghini, row 8, Andrea Fontana and Hendrik Still. Row 9 of the grid, Antonio Coimbra, the first of the GTOpen runners, and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini in the AF Course Ferrari he shares with Marco Ciocci. Marcello Hahn and Alex Moisev rounding out the top 20. And then a real surprise, 21st on the grid, is championship leader and 2-time race winner this year, Dominic Farnbacher in the Farnbacher Lexus. Lots to do from there. Then Gianluca Giraldi and Alex West on the 12th row, and all Mercedes row 13 for Mario Prosciutta and Marcio Basso, and then an all Ferrari 14th row of the grid for Fu Song Yang, with Ivor Dunbar in the FF Course Ferrari rounding out the field. So that is how they line up. This should be absolutely excellent. The 1-minute board shown to the drivers, the motors firing up, then they will be released onto their formation lap behind the pace car. When the pace car peels away, then we will be going racing. Just looking down the field, see if there's any issues. Didn't look to be the case. Now, Vitantonio Liuzzi, the issue in that Triple F Racing Lamborghini happened through the Virage du Pont, the final turn, turn 15 here. Slippery surface flag is going to be displayed to the drivers for the first 3 laps, but it will be this formation lap. They'll get a chance to see just what the track conditions are like. So the breeze just starting to pick up again a little bit. It's the green flag about to be displayed to Mikkel Mack in the Ferrari. Which it is now. So away they go onto the formation lap. Matt leads the field. Now, of course, all of them run on the Control Michelin tyre. And given the high track temperatures expected this weekend, indeed that we're experiencing this afternoon, managing that tyre during the course of the race is going to be absolutely key. And we saw lots of different strategies during qualifying this morning. Some drivers keeping the number of laps that they ran to an absolute minimum. Certainly it looked as if Tom Onslow Cole had possibly only done 1 flying lap on new rubber. Others going for a couple of runs in order to try and get the best possible grid position. How that's going to unfold in terms of tyre management through the course of the weekend. They're allowed 16 tyres for the weekend. They've got to manage those through free practice, qualifying and the races. So that is going to be another dimension to watch for. The front of the field, meanwhile, coming out of the Virage d'École on to the Mistral straight. Now intersects, of course, with the chicane that wasn't there back in the 1980s and 70s when Paul Ricard used to host the French Grand Prix. And of course, there is every likelihood that this circuit might be home to the French Grand Prix again in the near future. Always been, ever since its construction, a very high-tech facility, and that's what you'll see this afternoon, particularly in some of the wider shots, the blue and red stripes at the edge of the circuit. Those are high and ultra-high abrasion strips of asphalt which serve to slow the cars down to avoid them hitting anything solid, but also at the same time to punish the drivers for their wayward moment, either by slowing them down or potentially graining the tyres, such that they might need to pit in and get a new set on. It is at the very forefront of track technology, heading towards the Courbe de Seine, which always has been one of the most legendary challenges, and then downhill to the section of the track we're watching now, the Double de Beauzet. Good overtaking opportunity here, particularly late on. These drivers just struggle a little bit with understeer, and then they climb uphill into this tight technical section towards the end of the lap already. They are forming up Noah's Ark style 2x2 behind the pace car, so it's the red and black Spirit of Race Ferrari of Michael Mack, the green SPS Automotive Mercedes of Tom Onslow Cole. Then we've got the red bonneted but predominantly white and blue Teo Martin Motorsport BMW of Augusto Farfus, the red with white stripe McLaren of Rob Bell, and then the green and blue Lamborghini of Giovanni Venturini, the bright orange and white Garage 59 McLaren of Duncan Tappy. As the pace car peels away, it's the responsibility of Michael Mack to head them through Garage Dupont. There you see the circuit dressing, the recovery of Lutzi's car. We now look to the gantry. When the lights change, we'll be going racing for the 5th time this season. This should be fun as we get ready for the getaway. It's all a little bit tight as away we go now, and Farfus anticipated that start very, very well. It's Augusto Farfus who tries to lead into turn 1, a bit of contact, and it's Tom Onslow Cole who gets elbowed aside. They all fight their way through. That's very, very tight. Doesn't appear as though they've been in any contact. Geoffrey Donardo runs a little bit wide as they fight their way, and it's Rob Bell who's had the best of it. He's up into 2nd position, so Farfus leads, Bell 2nd, Mack 3rd, Venturini's 4th, Onslow Cole is 5th, everybody else is 6th. Geoffrey Donardo was briefly, but he took to the escape road. Giovanni Venturini's possibly slipped through, oh, and a problem there. It's Hendrik Still who spins in the Conrad Lamborghini, contact with Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Perezzini appeared to be static in the AF Corse Ferrari, having come into the scene of the accident unsighted. Alex Moisev, Michael Meadows trying to navigate the incident as well, as already Farfus leads down the Mistral straight for the first time. They head towards the chicane. Everybody fans out, looks to gain a little bit of ground. Albert Costa's also had a good first sector at least, as has Edoardo Liberati. We've got this group of 11 cars to Victor Bouveng, then a little bit of a gap in the traffic. It's the head, and it's Francesco Cini, possibly in the Solaris Aston Martin, who's in trouble, would you believe? Again, he's slow through the Mistral chicane off to the escape route as Farfus leads. Bell 2nd, Mack 3rd, Venturini 4th, Tappy 5th, Onslow Cole 6th, Albert Costa 7th, Geoffrey Donardo in 8th, Liberati 9th, from Andrea Fontana and Victor Bouveng. That group of cars all together, as Albert Costa in the Lexus looks every which way, tries to jostle Tom Onslow Cole. Onslow Cole may have the track position, may not, he doesn't, as Costa sneaks past in the Emil Frey Racing Lexus. Geoffrey Donardo immediately looks to apply pressure to the SPS Automotive Mercedes, and I just wonder, Tom Onslow Cole got a little bit of a bump off the start then, as they navigate the Virage Dupont and then head through to complete the first fairly frantic lap of the race. Farfus leads 1.3 seconds clear of Rob Bell. Mack the pole sitter is 3rd, Venturini in 4th, Tappy 5th, and Albert Costa in 6th from Tom Onslow Cole. And Geoffrey Donardo, Edoardo Liberati, the rest of them behind, all scrabbling and scrapping for ground. It's Francesco Cini, unfortunately, I think the driver who's had the biggest problems on this first lap, who was slow down the Mistral straight and hasn't yet completed this first lap. Perezzini, meanwhile, I'm pleased to report, did get back underway, but down in 24th place. And there is Francesco. Oh, that's why he's in trouble. Possibly contact with Hendricks still, and a front right puncture for the Aston Martin. So much bad luck in these early stages of the season for the Solaris squad. They will be hoping for better tomorrow. But a quick pit stop, it will still keep Francesco Cini on the lead lap. And then who knows what could happen. Into the pit lane comes Cini, the Solaris team. Get to work. And Cini's done a very good job of bringing that car back to the pits without having picked up any ancillary damage. Oh, something scattering there. Now, was that Duncan Tappy running over something? Or is that an issue with his front splitter? We'll find out. Certainly looked to be a little bit of debris suddenly flying out from underneath the Garage 59 McLaren. Duncan Tappy just looking there. He's under pressure and is about to be passed by Albert Costa. So the Emil Frey Racing Lexus flying in these early stages. And there was a little bit of speculation post-qualifying about whether or not we had really seen the best of that car's potential during the qualifying session this morning. Albert Costa certainly in race conditions, showing he's got a little bit of car underneath him as they sprint through. Costa now up to 5th. Tappy slips to 6th. Onslow Cole in 7th. Geoffrey Donada just behind in 8th. It's all this pursuit of Augusto Farfus. Farfus anticipated the start very, very well. Be interested to have another look at it as Rob Bell has got Michael Mack behind him. Then Venturini, then Costa with this train of cars in pursuit. Rob Bell having to work very hard, I expect, to keep Michael Mack at bay. Fantastic wheel-to-wheel dicing in the early stages as, again, Bell swings the McLaren out onto the Mistral straight. Everybody else behind in close contention. Victor Bouveng hops the curbs in pursuit of Andrea Fontana. Run through the June sunshine, jump on the brakes into the chicane. Now Rob Bell, we've seen already this season, completely unflappable under pressure. Tom Onslow Cole needing to do much the same now because he has got Geoffrey Donada right behind him in the AB Sport Auto Lamborghini. Eduardo Liberati as well in the gold Raton Racing car just behind. Oh, and that's Cini out of the pits, possibly just moving aside wisely as everybody comes hurtling through the Corb to scene. Onslow Cole looks to dart to the inside of Duncan Tappy, and Tom Onslow Cole gains the position, slips the inside of the Garage 59 McLaren. So Tappy losing out. The driver who has lost out a little bit there is Andrea Fontana. He's been passed by Victor Bouveng. And Tappy now under immediate pressure from Donada and Liberati. Donada thinks about whether or not there's a hole to the inside through the Virage Dupont. Or the Liberati thinking much the same. Now this is the fight for second place. Rob Bell and Michael Mack. They're 2.2 seconds behind Augusto Farfus. There's the race leader, the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW of Farfus. Then we've got Bell, then Michael Mack. Giovanni Venturini being caught already by Albert Costa. The fight for 4th and 5th. Tom Onslow Cole up to 6th. Duncan Tappy slipped down into 7th. Geoffrey Donada in 8th, Liberati in 9th, and a slight gap back to Victor Bouveng in 10th. He took advantage of a slight error from Andrea Fontana last time around. So they flick their way through the chicane, heading out towards the Saint-Baume section of track. That will then feed them into the left-hand kink, the Virage de Col, and then the long sprint down the Mistral straight. Onslow Cole looks to wind up the SPS Automotive Mercedes. Duncan Tappy in the McLaren has got the Lamborghini of Geoffrey Donada tucked behind him as Michael Mack looks to the inside of Rob Bell, and Mack should go through here up into second place. And that was a great move from Michael Mack. Rob Bell also showing his experience. He didn't unnecessarily shut the door. Can now try and ride behind Mack, also behind Duncan Tappy, being passed as well by Geoffrey Donada, but Tappy might fancy his chances to come back here into the Courbe de Seine. Donada to the inside, tapping to the outside. Now, we've seen last time round Geoffrey Donada running a little bit wide through the Courbe de Seine. He does the same again. Duncan Tappy can't take advantage. He's got Eduardo Liberati tucked up right behind him as well. Tom Racing Lamborghini there, about to be joined by Victor Bouveng in the second of the Teo Martin Motorsport BMWs. This the fight for 7th place. We're only on the 4th lap of the race. Enjoyed some fantastic wheel-to-wheel dicing. This is the beauty of these 2-driver mini endurance races, just 70 minutes. They have to fight on track, but we will see the elements of strategy come into play mid-race. The pit window opens in 19 minutes' time when there are 42 minutes left on the clock. So now that Michael Max released into clear air, what can he do about Augusto Farfus? Can Rob Bell keep Venturini, Albert Costa and the rest behind? Tom Onslow Cole, the SPS Automotive Mercedes again in clear air, pushing hard behind the AM class led by Antonio Coimbra. There he is in the black 99 Sporting New Mercedes, pursuing this man Michael Meadows in the Jordan Racing Bentley. There is AM class leader Antonio Coimbra. He leads the class from Alex Moisev and Alexander Fraquina. In terms of the Pro-Am class, Rob Bell currently to the fore of that. Meanwhile, Henrik Still under pressure from Michael Meadows in the Conrad Lamborghini. Now it's on to the Mistral Straight. This is where Tappy has had some issues the past few laps, just that the McLaren maybe has its strengths elsewhere on the circuit. Here is Hendrik Still. There is Michael Meadows, the big Bentley. Plenty of grunt, bobs and weaves behind Still, who does not remain static. He moves across, covers the racing line, retains the place, holds on to 13th place. So nothing doing. We've got Michael Grenier ahead of them, who they are chasing down in the Antonelli Motorsport Lamborghinis. As this is a great scrap, as Victor Bouveng looks to the inside of Eduardo Liberati, and Victor Bouveng in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW now takes his turn in 9th position to try and move further still. Bouveng and Rueda, who enjoyed a fantastic race in Spa a fortnight ago for their first podium of the season. 2 young chargers, a really well-matched driver pairing. And Bouveng certainly backing himself to push in these early stages. Don't forget, there are lots of unknowns here for how the weekend's going to unfold. Who's on new tyres? Who's holding their tyres back for the second half of the race? Who's maybe holding new tyres back for tomorrow? As Bouveng leads this scrap rather from Liberati. It's Bouveng's sister car for Teo Martin Motorsport, Augusto Farfus, who leads the way. Michael Mack is second, Rob Bell is third, 4th Giovanni Venturini, 5th Albert Costa, 6th Tom Onslow Cole, 7th Geoffrey Donada. We're watching the fight for 8th, headed by Duncan Tappy. Then it's Victor Bouveng, Eduardo Liberati and Andrea Fontana. Then a little bit of a gap in the traffic back to Michael Grenier. This fight is 11 seconds back from our race leader Farfus. And that's important when we turn our attention for the second half of the race. Augusto Farfus passes over to Lourenco Beirao de Viega. Meanwhile, Eduardo Liberati looking to try and challenge back. Michael Meadows and Hendrik Still continuing to squabble. It's Meadows ahead of the Lamborghini. Now, Tom Onslow Cole, after that slightly shaky first lap, is now really pushing, trying to get onto terms with Albert Costa. The fight for 5th and 6th place. The SPS Automotive Mercedes in pursuit of the Emil Frey Racing Lexus. It's been the 2 wins apiece for the Emil Frey Racing and Farnbacher Lexus entries so far this season, which is establishing them towards the front of the field. Well, Dominic Farnbacher is currently in 18th place, the championship leader. Albert Costa, solid 5th, but under real pressure from the Mercedes. And this is what we want to see. BMW leads Ferrari, leads McLaren, leads Lamborghini, leads Lexus, leads Mercedes. 6 different marks in the top 6 places. squirting out of the final turn, sprinting through. This is to complete the 6th lap of the race. And Mikael Mak, as we thought he might, is really coming on terms with Augusto Farfus. We'll catch up with that momentarily. In the meantime, Eduardo Liberati is also getting into the BMW bullying business, and he is pressurising Victor Bouveng. A quick flash of the headlights. And he's got a good reason to do that, because he's got Andrea Fontana right behind him. As the Lamborghini's bounced through the opening salvo of the circuit and then sprint towards the furthest extremity from the pit area before they'll swing around and fight their way back. It's the race leaders. You can see in the back of your picture that Mikael Mak is right up with Augusto Farfus as Fontana challenges Liberati. Not sure that Fontana's going to be quite able to move ahead with Raton Racing Lamborghini and the Mistral straight. Meanwhile, Tom Onslow Cole looks to the inside of Albert Costa. Costa, though, shuts the door. No way through for the SPS Automotive Mercedes. Now, here is the fight for the lead. They were close at the start of the lap. They're even closer now. Mikael Mak right in the wheel tracks of Augusto Farfus. And Farfus, having led the early stages, has now got the Spirit of Race Ferrari right behind him. And this is the battle that was somewhat promised through qualifying. Particularly as the conventional wisdom has it, the Ferrari 488 might be just a little bit kinder to its tyres than the BMW. That means that Mak may have a little bit more to play with, given we're 15 minutes deep into the race. We'll find out. The heat haze shimmers off the pair of them as they jink through towards the end of lap 7. It's the 5th race of the International GTOpen season. Thank you very much for joining us in Paul Ricard this afternoon. And we are enjoying what's arguably the best race of the season so far, because we have got this thrilling fight for the lead between Augusto Farfus and Mikael Mak. And Mak, in the Spirit of Race Ferrari, hassles the BMW towards the opening chicane. The lightning fast change of direction here might just favour the agility of the Ferrari 488. But it's really through the mid-speed turns that the Ferrari's so strong. A little bit of a flash of the lights there from Mikael Mak. It's not really going to dissuade an experienced campaigner like Augusto Farfus as Mak gets the overlap to Farfus. Farfus, though, has got the inside line. Mak might look for the switch back here. Is there a hole that opens up to the inside? Mikael Mak thinks so. Augusto Farfus tries to shut the door, almost contact. Mak is kicked sideways, and Farfus just holds on to the lead through the Virage des Cols onto the Mistral straight. Now, how much has that slowed them down? They came into the lap 2.7 seconds clear of Rob Bell. There's problems for the championship leader, Dominic Farnbacher, into the pits in the Farnbacher Racing Lexus. And yeah, the answer is that Rob Bell is appreciably closer to Farfus and Mak. Albert Costa still under pressure from Tom Onslow Cole. Geoffrey Donada has decided that looks like fun. He has joined in the fight as well. So they navigate the chicane. Mikael Mak tries to get back onto terms with the BMW. Through the Courbe de Seine. That's the Double de Beausset. This is the sort of sequence of turns that could well favour the Ferrari 488. Mikael Mak collides to within a couple of car lengths of Augusto Farfus in the BMW as they climb uphill. The M6 just not quite as agile on turn-in compared to the Ferrari 488. Not much in it, though. And this is the beauty of how the performance balances out over the course of the lap, over the course of the race. Some corners favour one type of car, others favour another, and Mikael Mak again closes up behind Augusto Farfus, but Farfus can plant his right foot, sprint away. That last lap, did they slow themselves down? Yes, they did, to the tune of about 2 seconds. It means that Rob Bell is a second closer. Through the opening chicane, it's coming out of this sequence where Mikael Mak might again fancy his chances at trying to ease through into the lead of the race. In the sunshine, out of the kink. You can just hear the transmission protesting as Farfus and Mak run down through the gears. Again, Augusto Farfus covers tightly the inside line. Mack looks to the outside. Mack's going for it around the outside, and he draws alongside Augusto Farfus, and Mikael Mack might take the lead here. Brilliant move, he can pull it off as they head towards the Virage d'École. Mack has to settle into second behind Augusto Farfus as they head onto the Mistral straight once more. But Mack is unleashing everything as they head towards the chicane. Everybody watching in the pit boxes, and with good reason, as Mack bobs and weaves. That was Miguel Ramos, Mack's co-driver, who's watching, and here comes Rob Bell as Farfus defends. Everybody's closing onto his tail, and they're going to have to sort this out on track. The pit lane doesn't open for another 10 minutes, and this is wonderful racing as Farfus just a little bit wayward coming out the chicane. He's using every inch of the road, possibly a little bit more. In the background, Tom Onslow Cole trying to make the move on Albert Costa in the SPS Automotive Mercedes, and Onslow Cole does it to the inside line into the corb. Just seeing great move from Onslow Cole. He's released into fifth. Can he chase down Giovanni Venturini? And indeed the battle for the lead of the race. Immediately Albert Costa has got pressure coming in the form of Geoffrey Denarder. It's the fight for fifth, sixth and seventh as the Emil Frey Racing Lexus of Albert Costa looks to fight back. Geoffrey Denarder just in behind in seventh as the race leaders about to conclude the 9th lap of the race. It's now a three-way battle. Rob Bell is right with them. Mikael Mack, he has had 2 big challenges in the last 2 laps. Will it be third time lucky for him? Certainly he feels that Farfus is there for the taking. And again, a slow lap from Augusto Farfus, just into the 2-minute 8s. By 22 thousandths of a second. Rob Bell, by comparison, a 2-minute 7.7, and that's why he is right with this fight for the lead. Giovanni Venturini as well is closing into their tail at the rate of a second a lap or so. And again, Farfus covers this tight line. Mack looks to the outside. Rob Bell thinks there's almost half a hole to the inside. That actually buys Augusto Farfus a little bit of breathing room. Farfus out to the extremity of the track. Mikael Mack just that little bit more economical with the amount of asphalt that he's using. But Tom Onslow Cole's going to be the man to watch here, because Onslow Cole romping clear of Albert Costa. So the 3 leaders head towards the chicane. Farfus from Mack, from Bell, BMWs, Ferrari, McLaren. And then we've got the Lamborghini of Giovanni Venturini in 4th. We've also, fortunately, got Mikael Mack's team manager being summoned to race control. Wonder what that may be for. Certainly not any contact that we've seen. Albert Costa and Geoffrey Denarder, they're fighting over 6th and 7th. Then 8th place is Victor Bouvet, 9th Duncan Tappy, completing the top 10, Eduardo Liberati. And again, interesting to see this invisible elastic as Farfus has a relatively unthreatened lap. Just means that Rob Bell slips away from the leading duo. Just shy of 49 minutes left on the clock. Once again, Mikael Mack looks to try and line up the move. They head into the Virage du Pont. Mack forces Farfus to defend. Farfus has to almost block defend to the apex, but now Mack's got the run. Farfus squeezing Mikael Mack towards the pit wall. They run side by side down the start and finish straight. The BMW has got its nose fractionally in front of the Ferrari. As they came past Contribox, it was a dead heat between the pair of them. Who feels bravest? Mack does, so does Farfus, but Mikael Mack has to concede to Augusto Farfus. Very well defended from the Brazilian. And so Mikael Mack has asked the question at a couple of different points, and so far Augusto Farfus has had an answer. It might have been a slightly improvised one on occasion, but it has worked, and Farfus in the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW continues to lead the way from the Spirit of Race Ferrari of Mikael Mack, the Balve Motorsport McLaren of Rob Bell there in 3rd, Giovanni Venturini's 4th, Tom Onslow Cole is in 5th, and only 2.5 seconds really back from this leading scrap. Down the Mistral straight once more, headlights ablaze on a glorious June afternoon. Certainly shows if nothing else that they're really trying. This time around, Mack doesn't threaten Farfus into the chicane. It doesn't really give Venturini and Onslow Cole masses to work with. Geoffrey Denarder and Albert Costa continuing to squabble over 6th and 7th. Into the Courbe du Cygne. Now the drive to watch in all of this is Tom Onslow-Cole, because he is lapping about 1.6 seconds per lap quicker than this leading group of cars. Giovanni, and he's also 7/10 of a second per lap quicker than Giovanni Venturini. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility. This is going to become a 5-way scrap for the lead, and we'd anticipate that all of this leading quintet as well are going to stay out fairly deep into the pit window, which closes when there are 28 minutes left on the clock. So potentially we've got another 18 minutes or so of this battle to enjoy. What it starts to do, though, is play people like Alex West and Cobb Ledegar into the mix. West and Ledegar, with Alex West currently behind the wheel, 49 seconds back from this leading gaggle. As they slow themselves down, as Ledegar gets in the car, then that could play into the Frenchman's hands. Also got a little bit of traffic, possibly, that we're about to encounter. It's another challenge for Farfus. Rob Bell not risking anything there in third. He's able to stay with the leaders. He'll only go for a move, one would imagine, if it really presents itself. It's going to be Ivor Dunbar and the FF Course Ferrari who they'll catch. Now that might just open the door to Mikael Mack, because Farfus has got to pick his moment. So does Mack. Dunbar does the right thing, just moves aside off the racing line, allows the leading group through, and nobody really gains an advantage. So as they were down the Mistral straight, this for the 12th time of asking. Venturini also around the Ferrari. Onslow-Cole will be in no time at all as well. Jink through the chicane. Venturini running a little bit wide. That might give a glimmer to the SBS Automotive Mercedes of Tom Onslow-Cole. We'll find out as they come out of the chicane. Certainly Onslow-Cole a little bit closer to Venturini. This leading group, they're all covered by just 3.4 seconds. Onslow-Cole has just done his personal best lap of the race, a 2 minute 7.2. Mikael Mack, the owner of the fastest lap of the race, set earlier on as he closed up to Augusto Farfus. The next target is Fu Song Yang in the SF Racing Ferrari. Now this is, again, a difficult point on the track to catch the Ferrari through this technical section. And Farfus looking for the right way to clear Fu Song Yang. He sneaks past, so does Mikael Mack. Ferrari then moves back across, I think, into the path of Rob Bell, who's only able to jink past now as Mack looks to the outside of Farfus through the Virage du Port. Now, is that going to open up the door to Mikael Mack? It might, as he gets the exit and he draws ahead of the BMW for the first time. But Farfus is going to look to fight back as they head towards turn one. And the BMW looking to fight to the inside line. And Farfus may reclaim the place here. They're side by side into the first turn. And Farfus regains the lead, having lost it for just a couple of 100 metres. Brilliant wheel-to-wheel racing. And again, Mack on the prowl in pursuit of the BMW. But Farfus working so hard to retain the lead. Brilliant racing this, so clean, so close, and now so competitive because Rob Bell sees a hole. He sees second place, but he can't quite convert it. And Venturini and Onslow-Cole are closing up. They're about to make it 5 for the lead as they head out of the Virage du Col and down the Mistral straight. In the background, running out very wide, that was Albert Costa, helping Fu Song Yang on the brakes into the chicane. And Farfus has got this train of supercars lined up behind him. The pit window opens in a minute. As I say, none of these cars, with the exception maybe of Venturini, would expect to be seeing ducking towards the pit lane. And Augusto Farfus, he's barely put a wheel wrong. He's had the BMW in all the right places at all the right times. And likewise, Mikael Mack has been throwing absolutely everything at him. Head uphill out of the Dubois de Bose again. Mikael Mack is with Augusto Farfus again. Farfus has to stick to the inside line, make the BMW as wide as possible. This could be the opportunity for Mikael Mack if he can still keep to the inside, and he can, as Farfus, though, might have the track position going back his way. Again, he squeezes Mikael Mack. Mack goes on to the dirty part of the circuit. The car just kicks out from underneath him. Breaks traction momentarily. Again, Farfus does enough to retain the lead. And you just wonder whether or not the BMW has inherited the spirit of Roldan Rodriguez after his masterful defence for victory here in Paul Ricard 12 months ago. We're on to the 14th lap of the race. This has been the most magnificent of battles. It continues to be so. Farfus from Mack, Bell, Venturini, Onslow, Cole. That's your top five. Albert Costa's 6th. Geoffrey Donada 7th. Victor Bouveng 8th. Duncan Tappy 9th. Eduardo Liberati in 10th. So again, Bell trying to pressurise Mack. Mack looking every which way. Oh, Rob Bell just slips out wide, loses the place to Giovanni Venturini, has to slot back into 4th. So now the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini is going to be set to take its turn, trying to demote Mikael Mack. Everybody runs wide onto the blue asphalt as they come out of the Virage de Col. You get the sense of how on the limit they are. The pit lane is open, and already we're seeing a few of them peeling into the pits. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini's pass over to Marco Ciocci being one of them. Alex West also in to pass over to Com Ledegaard. Onslow Cole slips past Rob Bell. Now in terms of second drivers for the remainder of the race, well, Mikael Mack will pass over to Miguel Ramos. Venturini to Thomas Biaggi. To Onslow Cole to Valentin Pierberg. And Rob Bell to Sean Bouth, with Farfus to Lorenzo Beirao de Viega. So there really is everything to play for. Venturini just a little bit offline at the Double de Beauzet. It buys Mikael Mack some breathing room. It more importantly buys Augusto Farfus some breathing room as well. But immediately Mack is up with Farfus. And again, Mikael Mack trying to challenge Augusto Farfus again. Mack elbowed out the extremity of the circuit, backs right off the pace. And is that going to allow Onslow Cole up into second position? Tom Onslow Cole from nowhere, as Mikael Mack's tyres have possibly cried enough, is about to move into second position. So the SPS Automotive Mercedes alongside the Spirit of Race Ferrari, as the pair of them blast past the commentary box towards turn 1. They've got the BMW in their sights ahead of them. Onslow Cole, like Farfus, another star of touring car racing earlier on in his career, not afraid to get his elbows out when he needs to. But Mack does enough to prevail in that second position. They are all racing on fairly worn-out Michelin rubber at this point. That's why Mack was able to get on to Farfus so quickly on the preceding lap. Of the top 10, it was only Andrea Fontana who came in on the first lap of the pit window being open to pass over to Vito Postiglione. Victor Bouveng also in to hand over to Fran Rueda, and to Martin Motorsport BMW. Kang Ling will take over from Eduardo Liberati. Raton Lamborghini. There's a couple of them that are just getting their stops in early, a chance to get some clear air. And with good reason, there is every opportunity here for a little bit of an undercut. That last lap for this leading group, by the way, was a 2:11 for Augusto Farfus. And then you see that slight moment for Rob Bell, the car just breaking traction as he tried to slow it down under braking. And that was what gave the opportunity to Tom Onslow Cole. But yeah, the lap times of the leaders were so slow last time round that it does make the undercut pretty viable for anybody who was within 15, 20 seconds even, if they continue as they were for another lap, because they're now into lap 15. And another slight moment, that's Giovanni Venturini slithering wide. Rob Bell also, another one I think feeling it a little bit in terms of the grip having gone away from him, coming to the end of this 15th lap. Now what has that done to a lap time? Farfus still leads. Unbelievable resilience being shown from the Brazilian, and he crosses the line with a 2 minutes 9.7, so he elevates the pace once more. Mikael Mack, similarly, no, a 2 minutes 11.7 from Mack, with Onslow Cole behind him, and a 2 minutes 13 apiece for Venturini and Bell. That's allowing Albert Costa Geoffrey Denarder to close up onto their tail well in fairly short order. As Onslow Cole looks to try and line up the move on Mikael Mack as they head into the second of the chicanes. Then that very, very hard stop. There's nothing quite that Onslow Cole can do about it. We've got Davide Rizzo as well. And he just emerged from the pits in the Kaspersky Racing Ferrari. Onto the Mistral straight once more. It's interesting that as soon as the battling stopped, it's Farfus who can make the best of it. Now that's Davide Rizzo not having a dream out lap. Quick spin, the Virage Dupont. He gets back underway. Mediterranean Bell still squabbling over 4th and 5th as we approach the halfway point of this 5th race of the International GTOpen season. It has been an absolutely thrilling first half of the race, and the second half of the race could be equally entertaining once handicaps are worked through, once pit stops are worked through. We'll see who can push on and challenge for the win, as Mikael Mack just a little bit wide through the Dubois de Beausset. Clearly Onslow Cole can ask a bit more of his tyres, maybe than Mack can at this stage of the race. And Onslow Cole could go for another 8 minutes before the pit window closes. Might be time for another 3 laps or so at the end of this one for the SPS Automotive Mercedes. Now all of this is allowing Augusto Farfus, the race leader, to romp clear. Farfus just about to complete lap. He does a 2 minutes 9.4 as into the pits goes Mikael Mack. So Mack is in. Oh, and Michael Meadows going to the wrong pit box. Sends Sporter News pit board flying as Jordan Witt takes over. Now that's interesting. Suggests as Miguel Ramos jumps in, Mack had really asked everything of the car and could give no more. Releases Tom Onslow Cole now for the first time into some clear air in the Mercedes. So what can Onslow Cole do? Venturini goes 3rd, Rob Bell 4th, Albert Costa into 5th. Also in has come Geoffrey Denarder, so we'll see how that shakes out for him. Harry Teneketian takes over. Duncan Tappy also, as we understand, continuing on his way. Kiko Galbiati now at the wheel of the first of the Antonelli Lamborghinis. They're all in amongst the traffic, but Farfus, as soon as he's got some clear air, has been able to immediately up the pace to be ahead of that of the leading group of cars. Now this is a little bit of a look from Thomas Jaeger to the inside of Albert Costa. Now we said to watch for Jaeger in the Lechner Racing Mercedes later on in the race. He took over from Mario Plasciuta. He's got a fair amount to do, Thomas Jaeger. At the moment, he is running at a pace which exceeds that of the race leaders at 2 minutes 8.1. Now, Alan Hellmeister in the DriveX Mercedes, Marco Ciocci in the AF Corse Ferrari. They are both in the 2 minutes 7 bracket, particularly Ciocci, who is absolutely flying, a 2 minutes 7.2. So there's lots of drivers lower down the timing sheets who are being benefited here a little bit by this leading squabblers. Jaeger looks to the inside of Albert Costa now. Costa might get the nod here from the Emil Frey squad over the radio, not to fight this too much with Jaeger. The championship lead is on the cards here for Costa rather, and Fromenvila. And that's exactly what Albert Costa does in the end. The leading quartet all streak on. They don't head towards the pit lane, or rather they do, because into the pits has come the race leader. Augusto Farfus is in to hand over to Lorenko Berau de Viega. That was a brilliant drive from Farfus. Oh, and smoke pouring out from the cockpit of the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW. And is that one of the brakes that has possibly cried enough? Well, he was certainly pushing extremely hard, Augusto Farfus, and drama for the Teo Martin squad. Possibly one of the brakes catching fire, possibly something else. Shows just how hard the Brazilian was pushing. It means that Tom Onslow Cole now takes over as the race leader. What can Onslow Cole do? He's got probably this lap and one more before he absolutely has to pit in. Now And this a race already full of twists and turns. Our long-time race leader, Gusto Farfus, unable to hand over as yet to Lorenzo Beirao de Viega. And that, unfortunately, is that for the BMW. Furious Farfus. As the team get to work, looking inside the car, trying to identify what the issue is. And even if they can get Lorenzo Beirao de Viega out on track now, it's not going to be in anything like the position that it ought to have been, because had things stayed as they were, particularly that string of almost qualifying laps that Farfus was putting in before the pit stops, then the Portuguese, Beirao de Viega, was looking at inheriting a fairly handy advantage. So again, this could work out very nicely for the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini pairing of Venturini and Biaggi, as into the pit lane now comes Tom Onslow Cole, as does Albert Costa. So it's Venturini and Bell who continue on their way. Thomas Jaeger is flying, so just behind him is Com Ledegaard. Now, these two, they're in 20th and 21st place respectively. But Ledegaard, who drove remarkably in the wet in Spa to eventually finish in the outright race podium. A long way back, following Jaeger. Meanwhile, Onslow Cole straps in Valentin Pierberg. Now this is a good chance here for Pierberg to, at the very least, sneak a Pro-Am podium. If not a little bit more. For Venturini and Biaggi, now the race leaders, this could be their first win of the year. They have had one podium so far this season. That came in race to Estoril. 2 9th places last time out in Spa. But Thomas Biaggi, as he learned on the way to championship last year, it's all about consistency. Meanwhile, into the pits, Antonio Coimbra and Luis Silva swap seats. Sporting new Mercedes pairing, who have been right up there in the AM class. As Valentin Pierberg emerges from the pits and he is passed by Miguel Ramos. So Miguel Ramos effectively becomes the leader of the race of those that have pitted in. So for Miguel Ramos, this is a great opportunity. But where is Philip Fromenvila is the question. A long way back in the Emil Frey Lexus. You just see him at the back of your picture. So of those that have pitted, the order is Miguel Ramos, Valentin Pierberg, and then Philip Fromenvila. Oh, this is going to be a really entertaining 30 minutes or so. Particularly as we don't know how the Venturini and Bell pit stops are going to shake out either. But for Miguel Ramos, headlights ablaze, a driver who has had so much success in the International GTOpen, champion 2 years ago. Driver with the most wins 3 years ago. He had 3 victories last year, en route to 4th in the standings. Switching back to the Ferrari this year, as no surprise there that word comes through that Andrea Caldarelli, having taken over from Fu Song Yang, sets the fastest lap of the race in the SF Racing Ferrari. So Venturini in to hand over to former FIA World GT champion Thomas Biaggi. Rob Bell is also in to hand over to Sean Balfe. Just behind Duncan Tappy to Mike Benham. Once these pit stops completed, then we will see what the complexion of the race is going to look like for the second half of the race. There's the race victory to watch for, there's the Pro-Am class to watch for, there's the AM class to watch for as well. It's Fran Rouet, they're under pressure from Kang Ling. This is currently the fight for 7th and 8th. We'll see if it becomes the battle for any more than that once the run of pit stops has been completed. Just watching this battle on the TV pitch whilst watching outside my commentary box, as past me has gone Miguel Ramos, there is Thomas Biaggi. So Biaggi is going to slot in to 3rd place behind Valentin Pierberg. Sean Balfe is going to come out in about 5th or 6th relative to where Philip Fromenvila is. So it is Miguel Ramos who leads. Second place, Valentin Pierberg. In third place, it is Thomas Biaggi. Fourth for my moment is Philip Fromenvila. Fifth is Fran Rueda. Sixth, Kang Ling. And seventh is Sean Balfe. That is what we could pick out from the back of our pictures a moment ago. So we'll see the extent to which that proves to be true. Well, there is Ramos. Second place for Pierberg. Now, this is a big ask of Valentin Pierberg. And yes, the order was, as we said, fourth is Philip Fromenvila, fifth is Fran Rueda, sixth Kang Ling, seventh Sean Balfe, eighth Vito Postiglione, ninth Mike Benham, and 10th Jordan Witt. So, Miguel Ramos, can this be the first win of the season? I think it's going to come down to the pace of Thomas Biaggi. The other drivers who are really flying, like Marco Ciocci, are some 35 seconds adrift of the lead. They're not really likely to make that up unless we see a safety car. But what is looking not unlikely is that we're going to have the first non-Lexus victory of this campaign. The question is whether or not it's going to be Ferrari, a Mercedes, or a Lamborghini which claims it. Miguel Ramos, all the while through the first two sets of this lap, easing away from Valentin Pierberg. Doesn't look just yet as if Thomas Biaggi is going to be right with the Mercedes. So Ramos leads, and he is 5.8 seconds clear of Pierberg. Pierberg 1.3 seconds clear of Thomas Biaggi. Now Philip Fromenvila, he's just completing his first flying lap, and Fromenvila in fourth, a little bit slower than Ramos as well. Fran Rueda in fifth, Kang Ling in sixth, Sean Balfe in seventh, Postiglione in eighth, ninth to Mike Benham, and 10th to Jordan Witt. Now, that's a good scrap potentially between Benham and Witt. That's for the final spot on the Pro-Am podium. So that's one that's worth keeping an eye open for. As Hellmeister in the DriveX Mercedes, and pushing a little bit too hard. Chico Galbiati in the Antonelli Lamborghini. So the Huracan rotates quickly enough to become a tornado, but he gathers it up. So this fight for second and third. Thomas Biaggi, what can he do about Valentin Pierberg? Pierberg is a little bit off the pace in his stints in Estoril, much closer to it in Spa, and at the moment this afternoon doesn't seem to be particularly fussed at all by Biaggi trying to chase him down behind. And of course, it's one thing to catch the car in front, it's another to pick your way past. The Mercedes, we know, goes very nicely in a straight line. Onslow Cole watches from the pit wall. Biaggi just try and use the all-round strength of the Lamborghini. Now, if they start squabbling, it might give half a glimmer to Philip Fromenvila in fourth place. Fromenvila, that last lap, half a second quicker. Meanwhile, Mike Benham has been passed by Jordan Witt, and they've got Andrea Caldarelli with them. Now, Caldarelli, I think, is a lap down. He's just trying to get himself onto the lead lap, so Benham doesn't need to worry about it too much. But Jordan Witt moving clear of Mike Benham is important. It puts Jordan Witt up into third place in the Pro-Am class, and Benham having absolutely none of it from Caldarelli. They've then got Hellmeister and Ciocci closing up onto them. Now, that is for position. Here's another look at it. And Jordan Witt in the Bentley forcing a gap that was only ever half there. That's well judged from Jordan Witt. The Jordan Racing Bentley really getting up to speed at Spa, continuing that form through here into Paul Ricard. The Pro-Am class currently led by Valentin Pierberg, from then Sean Balfe, then it's Jordan Witt. As the DriveX Mercedes looks to make the move on Benham. Fighting for position, they've got Marco Ciocci, and yeah, of course, Ferrari just behind. So this is the fight for 10th, 11th and 12th. And Ciocci's got the run here and should go through. Sneaks past, well done, Marco Ciocci. Another place gained for him. So he swoops out of the Virage de Col. Meanwhile, fight for second and third. It gets ever closer. Thomas Biaggi now within half a second of Valentin Pierberg. Mistral straight gives Pierberg a little bit of breathing room. It's the Double Droit de Beauzet. This is where Pierberg's just going to have to be bang on it. Thomas Biaggi also, you can see, using all those years of experience and calculating. He knows he's a little bit quicker than Valentin Pierberg. He also knows that it's unlikely once he gets past the German that he'll reel in the race leader Miguel Ramos. Therefore, he can afford to bide his time, doesn't have to risk the car, forcing this move. Now, clearly the car's been risked from a little bit earlier on as Marco Ciocci slides to the inside of Mike Benham. So Ciocci up into 10th position. Now Marco Ciocci is 35 seconds off the lead of the race. Unclear how much further he'll be able to climb. Biaggi right up with Valentin Pierberg now, and the last couple of laps have been about closure. And now it's possibly about sealing the deal. Interesting if Biaggi does get into some clear air. Well, he's 8 seconds back from Miguel Ramos. That is going to be a big ask for Thomas Biaggi to try and chase down. But he might at least have a couple of laps to have a go at it, as and when he can navigate his way around the Mercedes. Valentin Pierberg had the indicator on there. Now, is he saying to Thomas Biaggi, go past me here, we're going for the Pro-Am class victory? Biaggi almost senses a trap, realises that there isn't one, and so he eases past. So Thomas Biaggi goes second, Valentin Pierberg slips to third. Now Pierberg's advantage over Philippe Fromenville is 8 seconds, so what we've got here is maybe a settling for position for Tom Onslow-Cole and Valentin Pierberg. They'll take an outright race podium and Pro-Am class victory if things stay as they are. It now releases Thomas Biaggi to see what, if anything, he can do about our race leader, Miguel Ramos. Ramos, 9.6 seconds up the road as they came through the second sector. Feels like, even for a man of Thomas Biaggi's ability, that is going to be a little bit too much for him to try and go for. Doesn't mean, though, that it's beyond the realms of possibility. Just means that it is somewhat unlikely. Another look. Biaggi to the inside of Valentin Pierberg. Ducks through, takes the place. There is Giovanni Venturini. This would be a good result for Biaggi and Venturini in terms of the championship. Extra 12 points, bring them up to 34 points. And certainly close the whole title fight right up. For Philippe Fromenville and Albert Costa, things stay as they are, they'll move on to 41 points. That will jump them over the Farnbackers, who, of course, we lost early on. Second retirement of the season for Dominic and Mario Farnbacker. They've had 2 wins, 2 retirements from 5 races. It's either been pretty euphoric highs or quite a lot of disappointment. Now Ramos pushing on. Don't think he needs to be pushing quite as hard as he is, as Sean Balfe doing battle here with Vito Postiglione. This for 7th and 8th place, and Balfe really defending it as Postiglione follows him to the inside as they head towards the chicane down the Mistral straight. And now Vito Postiglione sneaks the inside of Sean Balfe, runs a little bit wide, but he gains the position. Now Balfe's, though, still a solid second in the Pro-Am class. Now here is a look at Marco Ciocci and Jordan Witt. And Ciocci maybe showing a level of frustration, But Ciocci made that move stick. Now, for Sean Balfe in that second place in the Pro-Am class, it's really the progress of Marco Ciocci that he needs to worry about, because Ciocci has been 1.5 seconds lap quicker than Sean Balfe for the past few laps. And so for Sean Balfe and Rob Bell, they are really going for the Pro-Am Championship honours this season, as are Ciocci and Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow Cole, it's been a slightly more torrid start to the campaign for them. Obviously a win will help in terms of those points. 17 minutes to run. Such a pity, really, that we lost Lorenzo Berau de Viega from this battle as well. It's a good scrap, though, ahead. Fran Rueda in 5th. He's got Kangling behind him in the Raton Racing Lamborghini, behind the Teo Marti Motorsport BMW. And this would certainly be a season-best result for the Lamborghini squad. Fran Rueda and Victor Bouvin, they're starting to put together a pretty handy string of results as well. They're 4 seconds back from Philip Fromenvila, running at much the same pace as Fromenvila. So not really closing on him particularly, but at the same time, they're certainly not losing any ground either. As Kangling closes up behind Rueda. Rueda, a graduate of the Seat Leon Euro Cup. Kangling we saw a few times last year in the Euro Formula Open, before making the switch to GT racing. Adapting very well and very quickly. We're still in the very early stages of the course of this season. And so the teams and drivers still just finding their way around the cars, particularly the new cars for this year, working out all those little tricks that are going to enable them to get the very best out of them. So just over 15 minutes to run here, the 5th race of the International GT Open. Miguel Ramos leads from Thomas Biaggi in 2nd. Valentin Pierberg is 3rd. He leads the Pro-Am class with Philip Fromenvila in 4th, Fran Rueda in 5th, Kangling in 6th. The Rueda-Ling battle is the one we're following. 7th is Vito Postiglione, 8th and 2nd in the Pro-Am class, Sean Balfe. 9th and 3rd in the Pro-Am class is Marco Ciocci. 10th is Alan Hellmeister. Davide Rizzo currently leads the AM class from Jose Balbiani and Luis Silva. Although Luis Silva and Martin Conrad locked into a very, very close battle for that final spot on the AM podium. Again, Ling trying to pressurise the BMW, but this is the real challenge here. The BMW, a car that is potent in a straight line. The Lamborghini Huracan, much more of an all-rounder in terms of its balance of performance around the track. And what that means for Kangling is that the overtaking opportunities might be few and far between, because the traditional points where he could overtake is where we're going to be seeing a fair amount of strength in a straight line from Fran Rueda. But the Raton Racing Lamborghini still looking to apply the pressure. So they slow the cars right down for the right-hander. And again, Fran Rueda just focusing on his exit point through the Virage des Cols. That will give him the propulsion onto the Mistral straight that he needs to maintain that buffer over Ling. There is Philip Fromenvila, who's ahead of them. Fromenvila again, fractionally quicker than the pair of them last time around. At the same time, Fromenvila's rate of capture to Valentin Pierberg, nothing like it really needs to be. Thomas Biaggi is starting to close into Miguel Ramos, but Ramos leads by nearly 9.5 seconds, so he can afford to ease off. Now that's Andrea Caldarelli trying to get the lap back. He's already got a lap back on Sean Balfe. Vito Postiglione, I'd imagine, is going to allow that SF Racing Ferrari to run past. Now here's the battle that is coming together, because Marco Ciocci is catching Sean Balfe for the rate of knots, and this is the fight for 2nd in the Pro-Am class. There is Sean Balfe, the Balfe Motorsport McLaren, the red car. There's the 2nd red car of Marco Ciocci. They've got Caldarelli and Postiglione all mixed up in it ahead of them, as Andrea Caldarelli continues his efforts to unlap himself. Finally does the trick, but Marco Ciocci now right with Sean Balfe. And these are important points at play here for Balfe and Ciocci. They catch Postiglione again. And they've also got the Drive X Mercedes Van den Helmeister as well, closing up on them. Another Pro-Am car. So we could yet see quite a scrap for the final few places on the Pro-Am podium. And Sean Balfe knows what he needs to do to try and keep Marco Ciocci behind him. But Ciocci, a driver who always has maximum commitment, eases around the outside of Sean Balfe. Not much the McLaren driver could do into the opening brace of turns. So Ciocci gains the position, moves up into 8th overall. And Ciocci, if he can clear Postiglione without too much drama, may yet be able to put a little bit of a sting in the tail of this race, because he is currently lapping a good 2 seconds, not a little bit more than most of the cars in front of him. But the first task, of course, is to overhaul Vito Postiglione. But there you see Fran Rueda and Eduardo and Kang Ling. And both of those could be a reasonable target here for Marco Ciocci. The other battle to watch for is whether or not Sean Balfe can... Oh, and straight on through the chicane goes Vito Postiglione. Now we should cede the position here to Marco Ciocci. Oh, and it's a problem, in fact, for Postiglione. The Imperiale Racing Lamborghini pulls off the track just at the exit of the chicane. And that is not an ideal position to pull off it. It's almost as if he's in the line of fire. If anybody gets it wrong coming out of the chicane. So Postiglione, real trouble. We have a look at it. Out-braked himself and possibly has run out of brakes altogether. Now I hope that that is not going to trigger a safety car. We will keep our eyes open. At the moment it's being covered under local yellows. Here is the race leader, Miguel Ramos. His lead over Thomas Biaggi is 7.5 seconds, and Ramos, another slow lap last time around, to 2 minutes 9.5. He gave away 2 seconds to Thomas Biaggi. Now that is arguably a little bit more than is comfortable, one might suggest. He approaches the yellow flag area now. In the background, you can see Thomas Biaggi. They've got a little bit of traffic that they've got to pick their way past. Paul Scheusner is the first of those for Thomas Biaggi, so that might explain why Ramos has been a little bit slower. And Biaggi's now got that exact same traffic to contend with. Marco Ciocci released into clear air. He's in pursuit of Kang Ling and Fran Rueda. And Helmeister now only 1.5 seconds back from Sean Balfe as Thomas Jaeger looks to go around the outside of Kiko Galbiati. And does he manage to do so? Looks like it. Jaeger up into 12th place. Formidable stuff from Thomas Jaeger. Now this lap much better from Miguel Ramos. He's going to be pretty much back onto level pegging with Thomas Biaggi by the time we get through to the end of the lap. He's matched Biaggi 10th for 10th through the first couple of sectors. So for Miguel Ramos, after maybe a lap of giving away a little bit more time than he would have liked to, with 9 minutes to run, shoots through over the line. You can see that Biaggi's still navigating that traffic. 2 minutes 8.5 for Miguel Ramos. For Thomas Biaggi, a 2 minutes 9.1. So in fact, he gives away half a second through the final sector in the traffic. The gap between the pair of them goes back out to over 8 seconds. It's the Lamborghini of Harry Tniketsian, who he will catch now. The AB Sport Auto entry, and Biaggi makes fairly short work of him. So now that Biaggi and Ramos are both now once more in some clean air, we'll see what that does to the gap. Even so, with just 7.75 minutes, it needs to be a rate of capture about a second a minute rather than a second a lap for Thomas Biaggi. Now that's the change for third in the Pro-Am class. Alan Hellmeister ahead of Sean Balfe. So Balfe gets shuffled off the Pro-Am podium to the loss of more points. We'll see how the move started. The Drive X Mercedes have been closing up onto the Balfe McLaren for a while. And in the end, fairly straightforward. Meanwhile, this is Jose Balbiani, currently second in the AM class. 10 seconds behind Davide Rizzo, but only 2 seconds ahead of Martin Conrad, who is closing onto his tail fairly rapidly. Philip Fromenvila in 4th place, but the on-the-road championship leader alongside Albert Costa in the Emil Frey Racing Lexus. And that excellent first couple of laps from Albert Costa really bringing that car into contention. So Costa and Fromenvila en route for what's going to be a very handy result, not least because I think it means they won't have any handicap seconds for tomorrow's race, which certainly could work in their favour, depending on what tomorrow brings. Meanwhile, Valentin Pierberg en route for his first podium of the season, alongside Tom Onslow Cole. Onslow Cole drove brilliantly. Pierberg also putting in his strongest performance of the campaign so far. It means that they are looking set for Pro-Am class victory. While flashing his headlights, Thomas Jaeger moving past Jordan Witt. That is a pass for position. And that would be why Jordan Witt into the pit lane in the Jordan Racing Bentley. So disappointment for Witt. Thomas Biaggi, second position. He's making no further inroads into the advantage of Miguel Ramos. So the fight for the lead that never looked like it was really quite going to come together is now swung definitively in favour of the Spirited Race Ferrari. Now this is the battle though we want to watch, because Marco Ciocci continues to charge and he's now threatening Kang Ling in the fight for 6th position. And Marco Ciocci, well, this has been remarkable. He started the stint well down the field and he has absolutely scythed through and is surely going to be a good candidate for pole position tomorrow. Ciocci looks to draw alongside Ling into the Courbe de Scene. Around the outside, challenges Ciocci. Ling, though, has got the racing line, able to assert his position, but it just gives you an indication of how much Marco Ciocci really fancies this. As again, he tries to force the move through the Double Droit de Beausset. And what we have seen time and time again from Ciocci is that he always seems to be able to push late on in his stints. Manages the tyre wear very, very well. As now he makes the move on Ling. Let's see if he converts it. He's going to have the inside line for the next turn. And Ciocci snatches 6th position away from Kang Ling. 5th place in the form of Fran Rueda also feels like it is eminently possible, because Rueda's just ahead of him. They've got a lot of traffic they've got to try and clear. We've got Andrea Caldarelli trying to unlap himself on Philip Fromenvila. Now the first of these cars is Paul Scheusner in the Conrad Lamborghini. Scheusner doesn't get in the way of Rueda. I don't think he's particularly keen to delay Ciocci either, but at the same time, he's got to take the corner. And actually, Fran Rueda's been able to pick his way past both Lamborghinis with some aplomb then. Ayrton Ketzian also not delaying the BMW, but delaying the AF Corse Ferrari. Ciocci now able to pick his way past the AB Sport Auto Lamborghini. Kang Ling sails past unencumbered as well. So it delays Ciocci a little bit, but he's got, there's maybe one more lap to go as Caldarelli looks to unlap himself on Philip Fromenvila. I expect Fromenvila might get a nod over the radio just to wave the Ferrari by. Indeed he does. Philip Fromenvila in 4th place. Is it within the grasp of Marco Ciocci? Well, Ciocci's got to find a way past Fran Rueda first, then close the ground down. That feels like it's going to be a little bit too much of an ask. Chiocci could certainly be on here for 5th. Through the Courbe de Scene, we follow Kang Ling. Here, meanwhile, is Thomas Jaeger to the inside of Michael Benham. And that is for 10th place. So Jaeger scything on his way. Here comes Chiocci in pursuit of Fran Rueda, and Rueda, of course, having had quite a long stint here. He took the car over fairly early on in proceedings from Victor Bouveng. It means that the BMW has spent a fairly long time on that set of rubber. Mind you, so's Chiocci. But what can Rueda do in terms of offering up a defence? They are heading into the penultimate lap of the race. This battle taking place about 30 seconds adrift of the race leader, Miguel Ramos. So along the start finish straight they come. Chiocci chases Rueda. Fran Rueda sticks in the middle of the road. Matteo Martin Motorsport BMW. He has got valuable championship points to race for here. And therefore absolutely zero incentive to jump out of the path of Chiocci. But it's going to be a long 2 laps of defence here from Rueda. Again, the transmission cries foul as they move down through the gears. Chiocci looking every which way to try and find an opening, forces Rueda to defend to the inside. Will then look for the cut back on the switchback. Rueda saw it coming, just slowed the car. Doesn't leave a Ferrari 4/8 width to the inside. So they then come out of the Virage d'École. This is BMW territory, despite all that Chiocci would like to do. But he's in the tow now behind Fran Rueda, forces the BMW to the inside line. Which way will Chiocci go as they get towards the braking zone for the chicane? The BMW uses its torque, buys itself a couple of car lengths. Nothing that Chiocci can do on the way into the chicane. Rueda now just needs to plant his foot on the way out. Delays Chiocci a little bit. But the enthusiasm of the Italian will be tempered somewhat as they run on towards the Courbe de Scene. Swinging into Scene now, then down towards the Dubois de Beausset. This is more Chiocci territory as he pushes the car so hard. Bounces up over the chicane. Rueda struggles to make the apex of the first of the right-handers. Does for the second. It means there's no opening for Chiocci. Chiocci a lap and a quarter to find his way past the BMW up into 5th position. We're into the last lap of the race. Miguel Ramos has been and gone. Thomas Biaggi as well, almost 10 seconds behind him. But what can Chiocci do? Again, into the final turn, well defended from Fran Rueda. But Chiocci gets a good exit. Rueda eases the Ferrari towards the pit wall. The torque of the BMW needs to kick in now for Fran Rueda, because it's Chiocci who gets his nose in front. The pair of them sprint along towards turn 1. And Rueda may be able to defend this. It depends just how much Chiocci wants it. But well done, Fran Rueda. He covers the inside line. Nothing doing for Marco Chiocci. That's one overtaking opportunity that's gone away. Now, this really is the best opportunity for Chiocci. It's this sequence of turns at the far end of the circuit where the change in direction just suit the Ferrari a little bit better than the BMW. Fran Rueda defended it very well a lap ago. Almost slows the car to a crawl. It gives Kang Ling half an opening as well. Again, as they come out into the Virage d'École, this is where Rueda can just stretch his legs, ease away from the Ferrari as Chiocci pushes a little bit too hard. They all run out wide. Kang Ling coming to play as well. And Ling might have got the run here on Chiocci and is able to jump the Italian. So Marco Chiocci was pushing so hard to overhaul Fran Rueda. He eventually rolls the dice, loses out to Kang Ling, who reclaims that 6th place as Miguel Ramos heads into the final couple of turns. Ramos and Michael Mack, they started the race from pole position. They are going to win the race. It does not tell the full story of the race at all. But this a real statement of intent for Miguel Ramos and Michael Mack. It brings them into the championship fight as Ramos accelerates past the Spirit of Race pit box. The checker flag goes out and victory in the 5th round of the International GTOpen goes to Michael Mack and Miguel Ramos and the Spirit of Race Ferrari team. They take their first victory of the season. Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini take second. Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole an excellent third place, and they win the Pro-Am class as well for the SPS Automotive squad. Fourth to Philip Fromenvila and Albert Costa. Fran Rueda is going to hold on to fifth place, and then Marco Ciocci does repass Kang Ling. So Ciocci taking sixth and second in the Pro-Am class. Kang Ling seventh, with Alan Hellmeister and Marcello Hahn eighth place, and they complete the Pro-Am podium. Well, a race of so many different dimensions. The strategy element, the drama in the pit stop for Augusto Farfus and Lourenco Beirao de Viega. The frenetic wheel-to-wheel dicing we had early on. But Miguel Ramos and Mikel Mack triumphing here in Paul Ricard. They take the win. Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini, though, taking a big slug of championship points. We're waiting. Meanwhile, and he takes the flag, Davide Rizzo and Alex Moiseev winning the AM class in the Kaspersky Racing Ferrari from Martin Conrad and Alexander Aquina in the MS Racing Mercedes, ahead of Jose Balbiani in the Sport and U Mercedes that he shares with Marcio Basso. Some excellent race. Let's have a look at the final classification then. Victory for Miguel Ramos and Mikel Mack. Second to Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini. Third and Pro-Am victory to Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole. Fourth, Albert Costa and Philip Fromenvila. That puts them to the lead of the championship. Ahead of Victor Bouveng and Fran Rueda. Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Ciocci second on the Pro-Am rostrum. Eduardo Liberati and Kang Ling a very strong seventh. And Marcello Hahn and Alan Hellmeister, who complete the Pro-Am rostrum. Ninth to Sean Balfe and Rob Bell. 10th, a great drive from Thomas Jaeger to give him and Mario Plasciuta a top 10 on their return to the championship. Davide Rizzo and Alex Moiseev a fine 14th to win the GTAM class. But disappointment lower down the field, as you could imagine, for the championship leaders coming in today, Dominic and Mario Farnbacher. They didn't make it to the checkered flag. Andrea Caldarelli setting the fast lap of the race en route to 19th. But yeah, disappointment for Vito Postiglione and Andrea Fontana too. So there's the championship situation. Costa and Fromenvila jumping the Farnbachers, who are still there in second. But Ramos and Mack leap up to third, and they share the points with Venturini and Biaggi. So 5 races into the season, and the championship fight really coming together very, very nicely. So into Parc Ferme, and Miguel Ramos, I think, really enjoyed that. The fist out of the car in celebration already from the Portuguese driver. Biaggi pulls up alongside him. And then Valentin Pierberg, third in the race overall. And victory in the Pro-Am class. Now, whether or not there's space there for Miguel Ramos to get out of the car, we'll find out. Fairly tight parking. But he squeezes his way out to celebrate with Mikel Mack. They really enjoyed that. It was a fantastic drive from Mikel Mack, that wonderful scrap with Augusto Farfus early on. And Mack and Ramos celebrating victory in Paul Ricard. Second place to Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini. And they, I'd imagine, will be on the top step of the rostrum before too long. And watch for them in terms of contention for the championship later on in the season. Valentin Pierberg, a superb drive after that wonderful first stint from Tom Onslow-Cole, and they really enjoyed that as they celebrate Pro-Am honours. Hot work for Miguel Ramos, but a huge smile. 2 thumbs up as well. The race unfolding exactly as they would have hoped it would. We'll hear from our winners soon.
Yes, it's the day of Miguel and Mikkel. Well done to Miguels. In a very warm afternoon here at Paul Ricard, and what a race and what a fantastic race. The first part, Mikkel, was a big fight. Huh?
Yeah, lots of fight with different cars, so it was great to be out there. Some of the things was very tough, but I managed it very well, I think. And Miguel was just unbelievable, just driving the victory home, and it feels great. The car is very good. The team did an amazing job with the car.
Yeah, but Miguel, a tough stint as well, because of the heat and temperatures.
Yeah, it was tough. We decided to stop a little bit early because he was on traffic, definitely. And so I pushed the first 3 laps, and I gained enough to overtake the Mercedes just when he was exiting the pit. If not, it will be very different, the race. So it was a good race. Then just pushing to give an advantage and then maintain it.
Yeah, well done. First win of the year, and the championship is
finally
open again.
Yeah.
Podium, guys. Well done.
Look back at one of the best races of the season with Michael Mack leading from pole position, but a lightning start from Augusto Farfus, taking the Teo Martin Motorsport BMW into the lead, as somehow the field were able to shuffle through the opening couple of turns without it all going wrong. That happened a little bit further out on the first lap, as the Conrad Lamborghini was turned. Others were delayed, including Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Meanwhile, Michael Mack and Rob Bell enjoyed a good tussle as Mack got released into clear air. Tom Onslow Cole was recovering masterfully from a difficult first lap. They all then got on turns with Augusto Farfus, who enjoyed a magnificent 5-way scrap for the lead of the race as we headed into the pit window. Onslow Cole able to navigate his way through the traffic in the SPS Mercedes. But then dejection at the pit stops. Smoke pouring forth from the BMW, and it meant that Farfus and Lorenzo Beirao de Viega were out. Post-pit stops, and Ramos emerged in the lead, with Thomas Biaggi in third behind Valentin Pierberg. That was the move that took Biaggi into second, as Miguel Ramos was able to manage his buffer and score he and Michael Mack's first victory of the season, the first of the year for the Spirit of Race team. Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini in second, with Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow Cole into third and claiming Pro-Am honours. Davide Rizzo and Alex Moisev winning the Am class. All smiles in Parc Ferme. So really, really enjoyable race on a very hot June afternoon at Paul Ricard, and the very best of multi-mark GT racing. So much to talk about, so much to enjoy. And not unsurprisingly, all smiles from the Spirit of Race team. Wheel-to-wheel dicing for the first 40 minutes of the race, and then Miguel Ramos doing exactly what he needed to do in the second phase. So the drivers will be up on to the podium very shortly. For now, lots to smile about, lots to talk about. And central rehydration as well. So hot at the wheel of those cars. You can see the extent to which it does start to train the drivers. Of course, they've got to do it all over again tomorrow, qualifying first thing tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon's race, and then we will be back for the slightly shorter 60-minute race at 2:15 Central European time. The race gets underway, so of course our coverage will start a little bit before then. Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow Cole, they're just to the right of your picture. Pro-Am class winners, third in the race overall. And again, an excellent performance as they head out to the rostrum to take their place. Really tenacious drive from Onslow Cole. And likewise, Pierberg managing it perfectly. Second half of the race, runners-up, Thomas Biaggi and Giovanni Venturini. Again, the Imperiale Racing Lamborghini pairing proving to be very potent, with Miguel Ramos and Michael Mack celebrating their first win of 2017 for Spirit of Race Ferrari.
Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, en l'honneur de l'équipage vainqueur, l'hymne de la Suisse.
The Swiss national anthem for the Spirit of Race Ferrari team. As we move on to trophy presentations. So third place to Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole. Huge smiles, and rightly so. Runners up, Giovanni Venturini and Thomas Biaggi. Biaggi may be able to make it 2 titles in a row. And race winners, Mikel Mack and Miguel Ramos, they move into the title fight. They celebrate their first win of the year after an excellent performance. Spirit of Race Ferrari celebrating being the winning team. Time to move on to the bubbly. Champagne flies on the rostrum. 6 very, very happy drivers. So an excellent afternoon's racing. So from myself, Ben Evans, here in Paul Ricard, it's goodbye, and we'll see you tomorrow as the GTOpen season continues.
Mais l'équipage est allemand. Je vous demande de les applaudir, ils sont vainqueurs dans cette catégorie GT3 Pro-Am. Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, en l'honneur de l'équipage vainqueur, l'hymne allemand.
So third place in the Pro-Am class for Alan Hellmeister and Marcello Hahn. Runners-up, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini and Marco Ciocci. And Pro-Am class winners, Valentin Pierberg and Tom Onslow-Cole. An excellent third place in the race overall for them. Ciocci and Perezzini coming home 6th. And Hellmeister and Hahn, an excellent 8th place. The Pro-Am class continuing to give us some excellent racing in 2017. And again, the Pro-Am Championship is going to be well worth keeping an eye on as we head towards the last stage of the season. Sean Balfe and Rob Bell were 4th in the class with Thomas Jaeger and Mario Plasciuta 5th in class after an excellent drive late on from Jaeger. Garage 59 pairings of Mike Benham, Duncan Tappy, Com Ledegar and Alex West. A little bit more of a difficult afternoon, finishing 11th and 13th respectively. But celebration on the rostrum in Paul Ricard for Pro-Am finishers. And we'll turn our attention to the GTOpen class as well. Very keenly contested, with third place going to Jose Balbiani and Marcio Basso. In the Sport and U Mercedes was Martin Conrad and Alexandra Aquina, who finished runners-up in the MS Racing Mercedes, with Davide Rizzo and Alex Moiseev victorious for Kaspersky Racing. Kaspersky Motorsport, rather, in the class, finishing an excellent 14th overall. And at the line, just 4 seconds clear of Conrad and Aquina, and then 1.5 seconds up the road ahead of Balbiani and Basso. So the AM class fight getting very, very tight in the latter stages.
Du team Sport NU avec Marcio Basso et José Balbiani, équipage numéro 12. Et sur la plus haute marche du podium,
so third place for Basso and Balbiani, runners up Conrad and Aquina, and Rizzo and Moiseev celebrating for Kaspersky Motorsport on the top step of the AM podium.
Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, en l'honneur de l'équipage vainqueur, l'hymne de la Russie.
Russian national anthem for the Kaspersky Motorsport Ferrari pairing, as third place to Jose Balbiani and Marcio Basso. Find third place in the AM class. Runners up, Martin Conrad and Alexander Aquina. And class winners, Rizzo and Moiseev. So they celebrate on the rostrum in Paul Ricard, and we will very much look forward to how the AM battle unfolds in the second race of the weekend. Don't forget, that gets underway at 2:15 Central European time tomorrow. Until then, it's goodbye from Paul Ricard.
Voilà, mesdames, mesdemoiselles, messieurs, je pense que notre ami Joël est impatient de nous faire vivre la dernière course de cette journée. Je rappelle qu'on continue bien sûr demain. Et mon cher Joël, on peut te passer le relais, car là, on va faire encore une superbe course pour finir cette journée.
Et bien, merci Gilbert. Effectivement, nous allons nous régaler avec cette dernière course qui nous attend, avec effectivement les voitures qui sont déjà sur la grille de départ, voitures qui font donc 2 litres de cylindrée. C'est des voitures qui sont de type silhouette, un châssis tubulaire, avec une boîte SADEV, évidemment. En tout cas, un rapport poids-puissance, tout pour le plaisir, tout pour le bonheur. De quoi s'amuser, de quoi se faire plaisir. Et c'est vrai que ce sont des voitures en plus nombreuses et très spectaculaires. Il y a des plaisir de pilotage avec des courses de nuit. C'est des dizaines de litres avec cette catégorie.